Hello ladies and gentlemen, and today's video will be about graphical settings in Prepar version 3.3. Now it will be not about tweaks or how to get rid of Blu-rays or how to get best graphics and best performance, because uniformal settings, they don't exist for flight simming. All systems are different, all computers are different, all graphic cards are different, so you really have to kind of find it yourself. But I will point you in the right direction in this video in two parts. First part will be what you need to follow and what you need to have in order to have the best performance and best picture in flight sim, and the second part is how to do it. So let's go ahead and skip to the first part. Since early ages of flight simming, especially FS9 and FSX, most of you remember that a lot of people used to use tweaks in config file, and internet was flooded with those tweaks. Now since Prepar is doing a lot of improvement to the flight sim, nowadays you practically don't need to do any tweaks in config, although few things. Let's say we have clearly installed sim, just fresh installed sim on your system. First thing you want to do is grab something quick, grab something heavy and quick, like for example this L39. It's not that heavy on the textures, but it will be quick, so that will do it. Go to an area that you have a lot of autogen. That must be, in my case this is Chicago, it could be New York, it could be Los Angeles, London, you name it. The places where you will have a lot of objects to load, and choose some crappy weather, I would say, like overcast and rain, and fly around and see and fine-tune those settings here to get you the most comfortable performance. Now don't look on FPS, but at the same time don't underlook at it. So roughly you want to have something like 30 FPS in one of those big large cities with a lot of autogen. So in my case I will list all my system description below, and I don't have a really powerful system nowadays. I would call it more like average. But as you can see, my settings are still sort of high. So first thing you want to get rid of is FXAA. That will blur it out. Especially I have a 4K television, Sony, and with FXAA it blurs out my digits on my instruments, so that kind of throws me off, and also I would like a crisp picture. So get rid of FXAA, then choose something from MSAA. If you have a lower card, you can choose 2 samples, but most of the normal cards will stick with 4 samples with no problem. 8 samples on 4K TV, no point of going at all. So 4 samples suits me well. ISO 16, just set it and forget it. Now talking about VSync. VSync in Inspector, graphical inspector, NVIDIA Inspector, doesn't change pretty much anything. So VSync works inside here really good, so either set it or forget it. I have it on, and I will explain why, but for now don't worry about VSync and don't worry about target frame rate. Set it to unlimited, not forced 40 like it's in my case. Set it on unlimited and fly with those settings that you set here and on scenery. Don't go too much, don't go too little. Find something that will suit you really good, where you have a nice picture and nice performance. So I have it set as this one. Okay, for the lighting settings, we'll talk about this a little bit later, when I will explain how to get a best picture. Now for the shadows, this is most graphic cards thing right here. So you can play with it around according to your graphic card again and see what it does. So start with lower settings and increase it and see how comfortable it is. So you must really do your own judgment here. The weather in this case I would recommend setting maximum in 100 or 110. Traffic, personally I don't use it. Okay, so when you fly with those settings for a little bit and let's say you feel comfortable, now this is the time to start fine-tuning your sim, and this is really important to get it working right. Now even before you start tuning the sim, I recommend to you to set all your graphic stuff. So for this I will give all links below. I use ORBX Global, ORBX Vector, and newly released OpenLC United States, North America. All three of those will suit me well on my terrain below and land class and vectors. So all of those three, I will provide all the links. Okay, so second part, what you want to use is Real Environment Extreme Direct. I use this for mostly, I'll show you. I use it mostly for like runway textures and taxiway textures, sometimes maybe for lights, runway lights, or like lightning textures, sort of thing. Now some people are comfortable with Prepar water, some not. Personally I don't even remember which water I'm using right now, but it looks good, so I don't usually tend to fix something that's working well. Now get those and don't install any cloud effects or sky colors to it. I will provide you links with the best solutions, most realistic solutions to my opinion. And I fly usually once a week at least, and as a pilot and as a passenger I fly a lot too. So again, from Rex 4, just for starters, just put runway taxiway textures, airport textures and such. Don't use anything else. Okay, moving further. Active Sky 2016, I think this is the best weather engine so far. Use this one with the bundle of ASCA. Now, as far as ASCA as you would call it, right? I recommend do not use their day sky sets. Personally, I don't use their sky colors as well. I have mine. I think that what I have is much more realistic than what they offer, but that's just my opinion. Again, sky colors depend. Sky colors are making your fog looking right way. They are working with too many things in simulators, so be really careful with that. The most important is day sky set. As day sky, pretty much I've seen a lot of chemical results and from a lot of publishers, and it's just not realistic. I mean, normal day with normal good visibility is always the same colors. Normal day, like midday. The rest of colors to the real sky, they're changing by the weather phenomena or temperature, dew point, visibility, and so on, so on, so on. So if you can have this all in your weather engine, so why would you have this unrealistic gray sky by default? I mean, this is just totally unrealistic. So for the image quality, set to 2048 and forget for both. I use their cloud structure, so the rest of 3 windows are checked in. Set it and forget it. Alright, it's been set in my case, so I'll just hit cancel. Now for the Active Sky 2016. I go by everything default, except I found from my numerous observations that visibility, the most realistic visibility would be daytime. I'm sorry, a maximum surface visibility would be 58 nautical miles, and maximum upper visibility is 100. Now again, based on some of the day sky sets or sky sets, this might work different, but I'm giving you settings here for my favorite sky set, which I also will give for you the links to download. For the rest of it, it all goes by default, and that suits me well. For the flight plan, one thing about flight plan, don't forget, even if you're just planning on flying I'm sorry, flying local, still enter something. Like for example, we are currently at Chicago Executive Airport, so I would do something close to it, like Milwaukee, and then do something like this, 3600. If you're flying from New York to San Francisco, enter it accordingly and just hit direct GPS. That will make your weather drawing much better and much exact. So it's a really fast thing to do. And don't forget to select direct GPS here, or any of those options. At least if you select it, that's all it has to be done. Alright, and forget about it. So those are settings for the weather and graphic textures, pretty much self-explanatory. So when you install all these textures, now you can have something to push off of. And now it's time for you to fine-tune your sim. Again, check in some large cities with bad weather if it flies smoothly, and then make small adjustments to your options and settings, graphical settings. For such thing as NVIDIA Inspector, some people don't use it. I use only for limiting frame rate to 40 FPS, and I will explain why. Also, I forced on vertical sync, but I noticed that doesn't do much stuff here. So that's pretty much all for the NVIDIA Inspector, and I will post settings here as well, but they're pretty easy. Frame rate limiter 40 FPS and pretty much all. While you test it, the best way is to get either custom software that will show your CPU process, or in my case I use Task Manager. And let me show you this trick real quick here. Some people put affinity mask into CFG file. If you know what it means, then you know. If not, don't even bother finding out. I think this is totally unneeded, and it probably will mess worse with your system. The best thing in this case to do, and the easiest thing to do, is go to your Task Manager. Notice the CPU right now, and I have my CPU up to like 4.75 gigahertz overclocked. Now go to details and check the Prepar and see the set affinity option. Now deselect all of them, just hit all processors, and then select all of them one by one, starting from CPU 0 to CPU 3. 1, 2, 3, and you notice that all processor will light up again. Now hit OK and go back to performance. Now check what processes are doing right now. You see how they're pretty much stabilizing in each. That makes 3, 2, and 1 grow, and 0 stabilize with them. So it's not like your CPU 0 is doing most of the job while 1, 2 and 3 are resting. So this is the trick I use, and I find it really good. Now at the same time, don't have a lot of programs running on the background, and task for most of them that you don't need when you run the sim. Get a program that's called GPU-Z that will help you to judge your GPU load and GPU temperature and a lot of useful information. Basically, starting from FSX era up to Prepar, Flight Sim works this way when it's tuned nicely and works correctly. It has both sides. You have to find a gold middle. So either it's stuttering when you're too much, or either it's blurries when too low. So that you will have to adjust based on your GPU. And if you see that if your GPU load is low and your CPU is high, that means you're bottlenecking in your CPU, and vice versa. Now, as you can already see, I'm running the 4K at a resolution of 3840 2160. Now, good thing to do here is have a full output dynamic range of colors and RGB here as well. Do your calibration of your monitor first of all to have correct colors, correct contrast and brightness, etc. Now, what I've done here, my monitor is capable of running 60 Hz at this refresh rate, but I limited it to 3.0. I took it from some videos of some people on the internet, and it works good for me. Pretty much you're limiting your refresh rate, and that will help not only have smooth FPS but get rid of tearing. Now let's go to the config of Prepar3d. Since I already told you about blurries and stuttering, your fiber frame time fraction, you either don't have it at all, or if you have it, you work with it so you have this gold middle between no blurries and no stuttering. So this number is between 0.01 and 0.99. All other inputs are useless here. So I find it, if you have small, let's say like 0.1 here, fiber frame time fraction number, it will give you more FPS, but it could bring the blurries. Or if you have higher number here, that will get rid of blurries, but it will hurt your FPS and will give you stuttering. So you have to really see the good number for your own system. There is no magic number here, and this is all depending on your hardware. I find in my system that 0.25 works the best. For the rest of it here, pretty much it's all by default. I don't have anything set here other than that. Again, you might need it, you might not need it. Now, as you remember, we set 40 FPS lock inside the flight inspector. Also, one thing I do is I set it as well inside the sim as well at 40. I don't want to set it to 30 because that will kind of limit what we need, limit FPS. So anytime it will be a lot of need for the FPS, it will drop below 30. In this case, with 40, it will not drop below 30 at all. Like you will see, we will fly around Chicago area, and the FPS will be around 30, 31, 29. So it will keep it steady, pretty much. So those tricks are for the smooth running, and also I will give you some hints on how to make the picture look amazing and most realistic. All links will be below, and all settings will be below as well. So let's go ahead and take this up. As you can see, I did some tweaking on the sun where you have some rays, and it's looking really beautiful with this case. It's really easy to do. I will show you how. Okay. My trim wasn't set right here. Alright, let's get her up and I'll show you how it looks. Now, as you can see, everything is drawing fine, no blurries, and you have pretty much smooth sim. So that will stay at 30 FPS every time. I understand some of you might say that 60 FPS feels a little bit more smoother, but again, when you fly over the fields in Idaho, and then you come to San Francisco and notice that you have blurry ground and some stuttering, so there's no pretty much use in that 60 FPS anymore, because your system will cut it out. Now, the reason I chose this jet is because it's fast, and I will speed it up some more just to show you how textures don't get blurred out. So, but first I want to do is I want to climb higher to show you this magnificent set of day sky, which is not controlled by ASCA. It's a custom set, and it really pretty much the most realistic set I've seen during the noon. I also have custom sets for the down and dusk, and as well as the tweaked shaders. The settings for the shaders I will explain. I will not explain, I'll just post my settings, but you have to play, again, you have to have your monitor calibrated firstly. After that, you have to kind of see at your textures. And in my case, the lighting here is HDR. I have set brightness to a 1.17, bloom to 0.33, and saturation point 1.47. Okay, and here we're climbing through 13,500. And as you can see how realistic it looks. You have that yellow horizon. That is pretty much how it is in real world. And light settings, light colors of sky that gets darker and darker, but not too much dark, as I've seen on some other settings, other people's settings, where you have like a cosmos above you. That is not realistic at all. Okay, so my engine's kind of hot right now. Let's speed it down. I just want to show you here while we up how different times of day looking. So let's take a look at sunset here. Now, this is of me looking straight into the sun, right? Again, the night, if you have moon, your clouds will be lighted up by moon, but not too much light, not like by default. And if it goes down, you'll see they'll still be visible just like in real world, but not too much. Now this is down here. Yeah. So let's go have some fun. So you can see that there is no blurries here. Again, don't forget this is Chicago and this is really high speed. Now we'll fly closer to populated areas. As you can see, still no blurries. And that will work on all aircraft. High speed, no blurries. And FPS, as you can see, they're still at 30. So the idea is to have stable FPS anywhere. Basically, if I have it in Chicago like that, I will have it at fields of Wisconsin or you name it where. So I will post all the explanatory things, all the links below. With the release of many new add-ons, there is no need of a lot of tweaking and a lot of graphical tweaking as well. So you can have your sim and in 2 hours you can have it all working and looking as much as you can see on my end here. Again, you might not get such smoothness on YouTube and by me recording the video as well, so you don't have all the smoothness that I see currently. and you have noticed how many miles we're flown, and still we don't see any blurries and this much of autogen all around. As you saw, the night looks good as well. You have all these lights from ORBX. So there is no. I used to use Ultimate Terrain X version 2 with the lights, but now since it's all in one spot at ORBX land class, I don't need it. Although I wish that we would have a little bit of more variety in lighting night lights, like plazas, like shopping centers which glow different colors and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure this is all in future, so thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, shoot down in comments below, subscribe, enjoy the channel, and wait for more sounds from Blue Sky Star Simulations. See ya!